I mean, Antigua was the reason I became a digital nomad. I went there in 2019, and I just remember thinking I have to figure out a way where I can come back here and spend like a significant amount of time. I love it. I think
That's
the
like
whole world
Guatemala's
should go at
number
least
one
once.
fan.
Yes.
She told us that if she was going to get married, it was going to be in Guatemala.
Yeah, of course. Everyone should get married in Guatemala.
I would have
Uh,
loved to stay for another month or two in
yeah,
Antigua. If I hadn't had something booked after, I would have just stayed.
I would have stayed if it wasn't Christmas. But it was one of my best Wi-Fi experiences on a chapter. So I thought it was really strong. And the data, the cellular data in Antigua is amazing. I can attest to that. I did a meeting on top of a
Oh
mountain
my
in the
gosh,
back of a
yeah.
pickup truck.
We were like going over boulders, four-wheeling, and Monet is just running a board meeting.
Yeah.
I have never seen anything like it. I do think, just to like kind of validate what people are hearing, Guatemala in some areas
Yeah.
is pretty dangerous. Antigua feels very safe. Like
Yeah.
it very much, like the whole economy of Antigua is built around, tourism, and so they take care of you. And it's not it's it, I mean, I've never been to a part of Guatemala that I felt very uncomfortable with, but I'm a little bit careful about it, but Antigua feels great. Like I've felt a lot more safe there than I felt in a lot of cities in the US. So
Totally. Totally agree with that.
I so Antigua is is a sister city with Cusco and Oaxaca, like ancient kind of thing. So some of the architecture and stuff is similar, which is really cool. But the difference for me was like it's like right beside an active volcano. So we were like on a rooftop, like getting drinks on like a Wednesday, or like co-working on a roof on a Tuesday or whatever, and we're watching a volcano go off. Like it was the coolest thing. It was so beautiful. And you're near such amazing nature. And like there's just so many, we'll get into it, but there's so many activities. And it was just like there's like things to do all the time, and they're all like very there was a good mix. Like we did like salsa dancing and chocolate making and stuff, and then we were also like going ATVing and on lakes and rope swings. And so it was just like, and everything is so ridiculously stupid beautiful. um just like, and it's so close too, like you can get to like amazing hikes like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, even within kind of Antigua. Someone I think did a really cool one that they walked right from our accommodation. So like it's a really nice town. It has those vibes of those like towns that a lot of people like Oaxaca, but just the nature for me was crazy.
Antigua is exactly the kind of place that I like to nomad. Like I love being in places where like the town itself is beautiful. You've got like the Spanish colonial architecture, which obviously like that has its negative sides as well. But like it's a beautiful town. Like Monet said, you have the vistas of the volcanoes and the mountains from anywhere in the town. The buildings are beautiful. There's plenty of infrastructure for nomads. There's plenty of great restaurants and cafes. You've also, I think, you're like closer to the local culture as well. I think it's like it's a place where it's easy to talk to people and like get to know people. And you're so close to so many fun things and so many adventures and so much nature. So I think it's like a really great combination of things all in one place.
And I just want to add the people in Antigua, at least, and in Guatemala in general, every guide we had, everyone was so lovely and so friendly. Like the first time I got a delivery, I remember seeing the giant smile on the delivery trucks, the delivery guy's like face, and he was like, "Welcome to Guatemala," and it was so sweet. And so I love that part too.
Hannah, the house was freaking
Gorgeous.
gorgeous. Gorgeous. We had
Yeah.
this amazing pool. It was lit up so beautifully in the evening. It was like such a beautiful thing to come home to every night. Like the houses were gorgeous. Like our rooms were really pretty. We
We
had
had a
these,
hot tub,
yeah.
and
Oh my God,
literally
yeah, we had a hot tub.
every single night we were home, and everyone would just kind of congregate and have, even if it was just for like 20 minutes or whatever. Pretty much every night we were home. There was a group in the hot tub, and it was so nice. And everyone, of course, like wore their robes down over their bathing suits, and so we were all matching. It was really cute.
We did a lot of like fun events in the house too. Like our first week in Valley had us do like a welcome brunch, and then we did a Friendsgiving like the first week. That was insane. Every single person cooks like an amazing dish. It was like really beautiful. I think that set a really great tone for the chapter. We did this epic like Tribal Tuesday Christmas thing where we like made t-shirts and like what else we had like we had made all these snacks. Like we just really
And there was
used the
White
houses a
Elephant.
lot. Oh yeah, White Elephant gift exchange.
And then we did the empanada making party, which was
yeah.
my favorite. Ballet taught us all how to make empanadas, and like the kitchen spaces were enough that like everyone could gather, and like we could have like 5 people cooking, like working on stuff at the same time. And it was just so fun.
We had candelabras that we lit, and we had fireplaces that we used. It was epic. The cave tour in Samouk Champay. So first of all, we were like, oh, do we even need a guide? Like we could just do this on our own. And they're like, no. They were like, even if you don't pay for the guide, we're sending a guide with you. So we're like, okay, I guess we'll pay for the guide. So they give us each a candle, and you go into this cave, and it's not just a cave. You're like in water, and there's times where you're like completely submerged in water, like your feet are not touching the ground, and you're holding your candle because your candle can't go out because you need the light to go through the cave, but you're like holding this rope with one arm, and you're like trying to pull yourself along and holding your candle and trying not to let it go out. By the way, Monet told me after, so her candle kept going out, and I tried to like light it, but it was like the wick was wet and it took so long to like relight. She told me after she was like purposefully dousing it and putting it out. I was like, Monet, like this is
I had to turn it off. I needed both hands.
Anyway, it's hard to describe the epicness of this cave adventure. Like the candles just really took it to another level.
You just don't until you're in a cave with only a candle and there's like smoke billowing around you and you're like going, and the sound of like this water is just like rushing through the cave too. It is so like just Indiana Jones-esque.
They're like, hey, there's a waterfall over there if you want to go check it out, as like an afterthought. And you go look at this waterfall. It's like the most beautiful waterfall you've ever seen. And this is literally just our first weekend. Like we haven't even told you about the other stuff we did. Like we did so much stuff.
And quite honestly, that waterfall on its own somewhere else would be like, yeah, I'll drive an hour to like sit and look at that waterfall. It was beautiful. It looked like a mermaid grotto. And they were like, yeah, it's just down the road. Why don't you like go there at the end for like 2 minutes? It was
we didn't even tell you about the hike we did or the beautiful lagoons we played in that weekend.
Whitewater rafting, like that's all.
Oh my gosh, that was all that same weekend. Oh yeah, we almost died whitewater rafting, but we did it, so it's
fine. It was crazy, and I don't know how to describe our fun. Like everyone was so wonderful, and we just loved hanging out with each other. You were always laughing. It was always amazing, and we just had, quite honestly, like the most adaptable, like chillest group you've ever seen.
I think right from the first brunch, like we were vibing, like that very first day. Like I remember we were joking around, making like cutting the fruit for the brunch, and like that was really fun. And I think that Friendsgiving like was really bonding too. Like everyone contributed, everyone making food. And like you said, Monet, like everyone was just like in, you know. And I think we also had a really good mix of like veterans, but then also new people who were really like putting their all in. It was just a really good balance, and everyone I think was just down to like do things. And so we kind of went all in on a lot of things.
I said this at Friendsgiving, but I feel like I manifested this trip into being. Like the first time I went to Antigua, it was just like, oh, if only I could come here and get like 20 friends, you know, but it's like, where are you gonna get 20 friends that can come and spend a month in Antigua? It just felt like impossible. And at the time I wasn't working remote. And then during COVID, I found the like the place that we stayed on Airbnb, and I seriously looked at it every day and just dreamed of like something like this. And then that first brunch, I just love brunches. I love when people eat together. And then I didn't even really like help set it up. So I walked in and I was like, I am in the right place. Like these are my people. They have brought my vision to life and I didn't even tell them. And then Friendsgiving, when I was actually having a really hard day that day, and I was wondering if I was like doing the right like, why did I come back to Antigua? I've been here 4 other times. And then we're sitting around with our candlelight, and people were just, you know, like saying what they're grateful for and just being very, very vulnerable and raw and real. And I was like, I am in the right place. Like this feels so just like, I'm just so grateful to everybody because I just feel like it was my dream come true. Like, and everybody on the chapter was just like there for me. Maybe everybody else feels like the same way, but I'm pretty sure it was for me.
But we definitely had a lot of really great first timers, and actually a bunch of us, including a bunch of those first timers, are meeting up in Mexico City soon.
There's
like we got a group house, so
8 or 9 of us in one house, and then there's a
Yeah.
couple people coming to visit. So it's like more than half the chapter is showing up in Mexico City in like 2 weeks.
Can we just go through some of the adventures we have like quickly? Like, can we just like boom, boom? Okay, so we talked about the first weekend, Simoc Champey, right? We went to Lake Atitlan, and that was like a more chill weekend, but we still had lots of adventures. Then I think the craziest, coolest one for me was hiking the volcano. And this was Steph's like fourth
time.
Fourth volcano hike. Like, and I didn't even know hiking a volcano was a thing you could like do in the world. So like when I heard about this and I saw these pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And it was such a beautiful experience, and it was so freaking cool. Like, of all the things I've done in my years of traveling, like seeing at night an active volcano with the lava and the magma, like I think is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. And I'm so glad we did it. And it was such a beautiful experience to share. It was a really tough hike. Monet and I really struggled on the way down. My trusty Chacos failed me. I actually had to walk the last 30 minutes of the hike barefoot on like loose pebbles and rocks, but it was like it was so cool. It was such a cool experience.
So we hiked up the volcano. It was actually my birthday. And I'd been so worried about it because I was like, we're doing this on my birthday, and I heard how hard the hike was, and I was like, I'm gonna end up crying by myself at the bottom of this mountain. And then it was literally the most amazing experience, like just the lava. We did the sunrise hike the next morning too, which was insanely hard, but like insanely worth it. And just like, I can't get over what an incredible experience it was. I had like a magical moment where like one of the other people who wasn't even with Wi-Fi Tribe like offered some wine, like when we were at the top, and there were marshmallows, and like, oh, it was perfect. And then I ended up actually getting a tattoo of the volcano because there's like 2. So there's Acatanago and then Fuego. It's also a W for like wild, but I got it because it looks like the volcano, like the 2, because you climb one and then the active one is here to watch it. So yeah, I woke up like the day after we got back, and I was like, I need to capture this feeling.
The sunrise hike was so hard, but so worth it and so beautiful. And like, we were definitely struggling by the end of that hike, Monet and I, for sure. We were like so dead.
We were like screaming affirmations.
Exactly, we were. It was so worth it.
I think it might be, I don't know if this is helpful, but like the other thing is there were weekend trips that like we didn't get to do. Like I would have easily loved to have 3 more weekends in Antigua. I
really wanted to go to Tikal.
Yeah, so Tikal were the Mayan ruins. And then there's like a beach area where you can see like I think it was hatching season, so we could have seen like baby sea turtles. And it's supposed to be beautiful. I think there's like windsurfing or something. I don't know. And then I would have loved a weekend in Antigua because there's so much to do around there. The last Wednesday, we did this really cool like ATV sunset tour up to Hobbitanago, which is like this little, I guess like this little like adventure park that's like Lord of the Rings Hobbitland themed, which sounds so cheesy, but it's so freaking beautiful.
So epic.
Like,
so epic.
Amazing hot chocolate, and we're like taking pictures like on this hand, and then we did a rope swing, and we rode ATVs up there, and we like watched sunset. It was gorgeous. Like we wandered around this Hobbitville, and then like that one night we took the ATVs back down, went to dinner, and then had like a surprise pinata filled birthday party for someone. Like when we say that didn't stop, it did not stop. Yeah, like I remember saying this at the end. I was like, I'm tired. What? I've never gotten tired on a chapter. Like I love activities. I did not do anything, but I was like, how are we doing this?
We very much ran out of time. Like there were still so many more things we wanted to do. And like Monet said, it was so active. We were doing so much every day. Like it was hard because, you know, for me, I have so much FOMO, but I also want to do all the things. And I couldn't even do all the things because we were just doing so many things. But of course I had FOMO for anything I wasn't doing. Yeah, we were also working. And we didn't even like go out and party that much. Like it was like I mean, we did some, but it was like for the most part, I feel like it was a very like wholesome chapter. Like, you know, we were just adventuring and having fun and bonding and like being silly, and like it was a great time.
unlike chapters in like big cities where it's a lot more drinking and party, like I was waking up at like 6 a.m., going for a little walk, like going to a cafe, getting stuff done.
Yeah,
Love
part of me
that.
thinks it's good for me to have to like squeeze in and get productive in the time that because I was just like, I've just got to get this done or I'm not going to be able to do the things. So I have to get this done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It was altogether, I think it like Guatemala, like we had amazing people, and everyone who was really like down, but I do think it was very conducive to like a good Wi-Fi tribe chapter because like you had places like a little bit of separation for like a little bit of privacy in your apartments, but there was so much communal space. And then just like the wealth of activities that worked for a whole group. Like we never had any trouble going to restaurants. Maybe we were there in like shoulder season or something, but like we would just walk into places. We were always fine. We never had trouble. Like we were really just able to bond. I don't know, like the setup was just so conducive to it. It was really awesome.
We had the best time ever, and obviously that's you guys will have the exact same experience. But I loved Antigua. I loved Guatemala. Like it was my first time going there. I'm so glad I went. I would love to go back. If anybody has any questions, like feel free to hit me up. Happy to answer any questions and like go to Antigua because it was really awesome.
Yeah, second that. I am definitely going back at some point.
Are you going back, Steph? Is it?
Yeah, I'll for sure go back.
She's getting
It's still fun.
theoretically.
Steph is going to become a Guatemalan resident.
Yeah. I practically already am. But yeah, it is the perfect place for a chapter. Like, it really is. Like, it just has everything and just so conducive to the perfect chapter.